Well, just a quick update and glance ahead at the national media coverage of the situation in Pakistan, which of course has not been prominently mentioned as intended. So I'll give you a few heads up on the situation there. John Negroponte is involved in negotiations with the Pakistani government, our so-called ally, Musharraf, to train the Pakistani military basically what they're doing is they're training death squads, just like they did in South America, and all under the umbrella of an organization called the National Endowment for Democracy. So if you ever hear anyone appearing on your national news serving as experts from that organization, you have been forewarned, so to say. Negroponte was the U.S. ambassador in South America during the atrocious human rights violations there in Argentina, in Chile, in Guatemala, and many other countries in South America. He knew exactly what was going on. He supported it all the way, and now he is promoting democracy in Pakistan. So I suppose you can get a glimpse of where this democracy is going to lead to. There was an article written way back by William Blum called "The Trojan Horse, the National Endowment for Democracy." And this is a part of an organization, a non-governmental organization, you might call it, but taxpayer funded by our dollars as a foreign policy arm of our government, although it doesn't officially function as such. So let me give you a little background on this organization and the organization that many neocons to this day are very much a part of and have not intended to let go. As a matter of fact, they are very worried that with the outgoing Bush administration, this might be their last chance to succeed. And so, one should not be surprised at the warmongering going on towards Iran and other nations. But some of the objectives of this organization is needs to get out there, just in case some of these experts show up on your television screen. How many Americans have actually heard of the National Endowment for Democracy? Well, probably no one. And so everyone will think of them as experts, as usual. And this organization, which often does exactly the opposite of what its name implies, was essentially a creation in response to the criticism launched towards the CIA covert operations during the Vietnam War. So, in essence, it is a CIA front organization which is now operating out in the open, so to speak, with taxpayer money. We're supporting this, and funded by various conservative institutions, undermining labor movements and indigenous people all over the globe. So since the CIA was discredited with their covert stuff over in Vietnam and in South America, something had to be done. What was done was not to stop doing these things, of course not. What was done was to shift many of these awful things to a new organization. And that new organization is called the National Endowment for Democracy. The idea was that the NED, an acronym which I'm going to use here, would do somewhat overtly what the CIA had been doing covertly for decades, and thus hopefully eliminate the stigma associated with CIA covert activities in terms of intervention in the foreign policies of other countries. And the author states, this is William Blum, the author states, it was a masterpiece of politics, of public relations, and of cynicism. Thus it was in 1983 the National Endowment for Democracy was set up to support democratic institutions throughout the world through private, non-governmental efforts. Notice the non-governmental part of the image, part of the myth. In actuality, virtually every penny of its funding comes from the federal government, as is clearly indicated in the financial statements in each issue of its annual reports. We should not have to do this kind of work covertly, said Carl Gresham in 1986, while he was president of the endowment. It would be terrible for the democratic groups around the world to be seen as subsidized by the CIA. We saw that in the 1960s, and that's why it has been discontinued. We have not had the capability of doing this, and this is why the endowment was created. Alan Weinstein, who helped draft the legislation establishing the NED, declared in 1991, a lot of what we do today was done covertly 25 years ago. In effect, the CIA has been laundering money through the NED. There is much more to come, folks. I've done a bit of research on this, and it should come as no surprise, of course, but it will be brought up in the national news regarding developments in Pakistan, in Lebanon, and elsewhere, because some of the experts that you will hear from on your national news will come precisely from that particular organization. I guess this is part one. I'll have to continue tomorrow. It's kind of long, so thanks for listening.